Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, hello, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I am Patience. And in today's video, we are talking about things to cut out of your budget immediately, just to make some more margin. And this is especially true if you're looking for ways to optimize your budget and to create space for something that's better. Maybe you have goals of paying off all of your debts, be saving for an emergency fund, a down payment on a house, upgrading a car. Here are some ways that you can do so in your budget. And before we get into the list, remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, like this video, ring the notification bell, and let's get straight into it. These are things to cut out of your budget immediately. The first thing to do is to cut out buying bottled water. Now, I know a lot of people grew up with the idea that bottled water is like the best water. First of all, that's not always true. And next, like the water in your house is perfectly great. Some of the same sources that are in the bottled water is exactly what's flowing to your house. So if you want to just make sure that it's good water, or you're taking extra precautions, get a water filter, the jug one, or you can get the one for your faucet. Get it, filter the water, and it's just as good. You're paying way less for water than you are if you're buying it versus it just getting it from your house. So it's a way of not only taking out a big chunk of an amount, and it may not be that big, who knows, maybe a case would be like $5 to buy maybe 2-3 a month. That's an extra $10 to $15 that you can put towards something better. And I know people who buy like the smart water, like each bottle is like $5 and they buy like 10 of them during the month. Like that's a lot of money. So if you want to make sure that not only are you saving money, but you're living in a sustainable life, because those plastic, oftentimes people don't recycle them, they put them in the trash, they end up in the landfill for hundreds of years. And if you don't want to contribute to that or live a more sustainable life, buy a water filter, filter your water, and drink it. It doesn't mean you never drink bottled water. It just means that maybe you should limit the amount you drink. The next thing is to cut off your cable. Now, I know that cable is not as popular as it was back in the day. Today, a lot of people are more geared towards streaming services and just the sites that have a ton of movies. Nobody really sits down and wait for their favorite shows to come on once a week or whatever schedule it's on. However, if you do have cable, you might want to consider cutting off for this period of time. I have a TV, but I don't have cable. And nowadays, smart TVs, for example, which are not that expensive, mine was under $200. You're still able to get a lot of shows on there. There's YouTube. You can connect whatever subscription network you have on there, like Netflix, Hulu. I always encourage that you don't have too many of those either. I don't really know how much cable costs. I've never paid for cable. So if you have it and it's something that you don't really use, consider cutting it off and create that extra margin in your budget to put towards something more useful. And moving on to the next one. When you knew I talked about cable, the next one to follow will be those subscriptions that I was talking about. Cancel a lot of subscriptions that you have that you don't use. Now, I've seen a lot of services advertising, helping people reduce their amount of subscriptions. They're saving people over $700 a year in unwanted subscriptions. I don't know how that happens because I know everything I'm paying for, but I know there are a lot of people who don't pay as close of attention to what they're paying for. But it's time to get in there. Look at your credit card statement, your bank statements, and look at each transaction. If you don't know what it is, call and find out, especially if it's a monthly charge. You want to make sure that you're avoiding all of those. And if you do have them, they're like needed rather than having 2,400 subscriptions that you're not even using. Cancel them, save that money, put it towards something more useful. The next thing is impulse shopping. Now, this is something that a lot of people do. They go out, they don't plan to buy anything, and then they just buy something just because. And that is something to cut out. And not just of like budget, because most of the time we don't even plan for that, but it's something that really squeezes our budget and doesn't help us at all, because where's that money coming from? If you budget correctly, it means you're assigning every dollar to something. So if you end up buying something that you did not expect to buy, it's coming out of somewhere. And maybe, who knows, maybe you're coming up with your emergency fund, so it's not directly coming out of your monthly budget. Now you need to replenish your emergency fund because you can't keep doing it over and over again. Those are the types of habits that needs to be nipped in the bud before it goes on to become a bigger issue. You can't always outspend your impulses. So make sure that you take a hold of that now. So even if you're a type of person who has discretionary spending, and that's where this is also leading to having discretionary spend of a couple of $100s a month. That's money that adds up. Ask yourself, are these discretionary spendings really useful? And for people who generally budget widely, not specific, they have like huge discretionary spendings. I'll put up for like $1,000 in their monthly budgets. And when you're able to break it down, you will be able to say, okay, I don't need this. This is not what I need. It's because I'm impulse shopping and I'm covering up with this discretionary budget. So make sure that you go deep in there and then you cut it out. The next thing is sign up for expensive cell phone plans. Nowadays, there's so much data and Wi-Fi in many places, not everywhere, but in a lot of places. And when we come to a lot of cell phone plans and cell phone companies, they're using the exact same tower. So the difference between you paying for an $80 a month cell phone plan and a $50 a month cell phone plan could be one has a stadium and the other one is using the exact same towers, but they are smaller in name. So you can do that research and figure out how to cut your cell phone bill. I see people pay like $150 a month for a cell phone bill. That's not useful in today's environment. What do you need all of that for? Especially if you're working from home often, which I do. If you are a type of person who doesn't really use data as much, you can find different cheaper ones as low as $15 and figure out which one works best for you. And I've seen people even like switch and then they're like, oh, like this is practically the same. It's unlimited data, unlimited text and calls. Like everything's like unlimited nowadays. The competition is pretty close. So make sure that you do your research and stop signing up for these expensive cell phone plans because they drain you of your money. The next thing is to stop buying books. I don't really want to discourage people buying books because I like books. However, especially if you're not committed to reading them or you're in a financial bind where your money could better be spent elsewhere, it is good to stop buying books and rather look for free resources such as a library to get your book, especially if it's a book that you don't know if you even like it. So make sure you're utilizing your local libraries. The libraries have apps where you can electronically borrow a book versus going in person to get it yourself. So those are all resources and those are all free ways of being able to still read those books, but maybe not have to keep buying them because hard copy books nowadays are like almost $30. The next one is to cut out expensive banks and banking fees. So if you don't know, I have a whole video on the Capital One 360 savings account. And one of the reasons why I love it so much is because there are no fees for any of my accounts. It's a high yield savings account with a checking account. And there's no monthly fees that is just sucking me, maintenance fees. In today's day, there's so many competitive banks that are great banks, big banks, that offer free banking services that you don't even have to be paying all these maintenance fees and monthly fees, especially if there's like a minimum of like you have to have $1,000 in your account, but you can't keep that. Switch to a different bank. It's not paying like $5 every single month. These little costs adds up. Same goes with some credit card. If you have an expensive credit card that's like the annual fee is $250, but you are not even getting much from it, or you are in debt, it might be time where you downgrade the card to a free card with no annual fees, and then when you can afford it, go back to it. I currently have only one card with an annual fee, and that's because I fly a lot and then I get so much more out of it than the almost $100 I pay per year. I get free check back every time I check in. I fly at least 4 times a year, so I'm getting that money back. But if you are in one of those cards where you're supposed to get a lot for travel, but you don't even travel, then what's all that for? So make that decision with your banks and your credit cards, and you would see more room in your budget to go towards something else. The next thing is smoking or like cigarettes, vaping. It's time that you may want to cut out because not only is that expensive now, but it's expensive later, and it's expensive to the earth as well. When I used to work for the Prince George's County Department of the Environment, one of the most littered things that we saw were cigarette butts. Even to prevent like young people from smoking, I think they started making cigarettes more expensive, and so cigarettes are expensive. So if you're out here smoking and all these vaping, it looks cool and everything, it's expensive to keep up with those habits, especially after you get addicted. And now you're going to be spending a lot of money to either quit those addictions or to manage them. And then after that, remember, your body never forgets. So it's going to be expensive later. It can lead to all sorts of illnesses and decrease your lifespan. So not only are you paying now, you're paying for it later and with your body, not just with your money. So make sure that if you have such a bad habit, you seek help. You can talk to your doctor, medical professional to help you take the steps to get better with that. But instead of indulging in that, it will not only suck your money, your energy, but also your life. Which moves on to the next one, which is another common addiction, which is alcohol. There are a lot of people who spend a lot of money on drinks, and this goes both ways, because whether you drink or not, like excessively indulging in anything is bad. But also when you go to restaurants, it always baffles me that people buy expensive drinks. And these are like everyday people. I'm not talking about people who like have a ton of money. I'm talking about everyday people who are spending like $15–20 on a drink. Alcohol is one of the most profitable items for restaurants. When they are selling you alcohol, they're making so much more money on that than you can ever imagine. I mean, simple, they are sodas and stuff, but at least with those, you know, it's sugar. This one is with alcohol, like the effects it can have on you is also very detrimental. Not only are you risking addiction, but with your body, your liver doesn't appreciate it, your kidney doesn't appreciate it, your stomach doesn't appreciate it. There's so much that can go wrong. So again, if you're suffering with that, make sure to cut out of your budget. Talk to a medical professional, your doctor, to help you manage your addiction and to get better with that. And the next one is cosmetic procedures. So I did do a whole video on the beauty industry capitalizing on our insecurities and are they creating insecurities in us. But cosmetic procedures are an all-time high, whether invasive or non-invasive. In that video, I really break it down to the most popular invasive and non-invasive surgeries and procedures. But if you think about it, it's so much more money just going into it that you can better invest for another day. And when you think about how much people are actually spending on it, and these are not people who have the money to do so, some do, but a lot of them, it can be better put towards something else. And now with this credit card that covers procedures, people are putting their procedures on this credit card, and they would have to pay that interest and pay that money back, not to consider the risk that goes along with a lot of them, including the very infamous BBL. It is everywhere nowadays, and it has the highest mortality rate for plastic surgery, but nobody wants to talk about it. So it is time that, you know, you cut that out of your budget. If it's something you're saving towards, I would say, you know what, make sure you reach your other financial goals before you try to fix something. Work on yourself, work on your self-esteem, and work on bettering yourself the way that you can naturally and being happy with who you naturally are before seeking invasive procedures, because the consequences can be detrimental. And with that, I am bringing this video to an end. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell, because I post 2 videos a week. And let me know in the comment section, what are some things that you are cutting out of your budget to make room for bigger and better things? We all have financial goals. Let me know some of them. If you want to buy a house someday, if it's to upgrade your car, to retire at 40 years old, we all have something. And you know, that's what makes these videos so exciting, because once you're able to clear these out of your budget, you're able to get more money and more funds to allocate towards your future goals. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.